Hello everyone, I hope you guys are doing really well. My name is Julian and today we are going to learn about create keyword in SQL. So this is one of the most important fundamental concepts for setting up database and when you're starting with database services. So along the way, we'll also try to learn the different types of data types that we can use while we are trying to define a structure inside a database. All right, so let's get started. So what is a create keyword? The create keyword in SQL is used to set up an object inside the database. So let's say the object that I'm talking about is a database or a table. So think of it like setting up system for a database. So imagine you're given the responsibility of managing a school database system. So for doing that, you'll be needing a space to store all your information, from information starting with student details, teacher details, the different types of classes that are going there, and many more things. So to organize all this data, you will need to create a database where you would be storing all of these information. So for creating that particular database, we can make use of the create keyword. Okay, so let's take a look at how we can do this. Okay, so for doing that, let's go to MySQL Workbench and try to make a connection to, let's say, test connection, which is basically the root user. And over here, you need to put in the password that you have put in for the root user. All right, so over here, let's try to create a database. So for creating a database, we make use of create keyword followed by what we want to create. So we want to create a database and then we specify the name of the database. We want to create, let's say we want to create a database called Scoop. And then we'll end the statement by making use of semicolon. Let's try to run this. So for running this particular query, we can make use of this flash icon. So let's click on it. So as soon as we have clicked on run button, we can see that we are getting an acknowledgement which says that create database school has been successfully implemented. All right, let's try to refresh this. All right, so as soon as we have refreshed, we can see that we are having a database called school defined inside the schemas. Schemas are basically the different database that we have created on this connection. So right now we do not have any table or any view or any function inside this database school. So that's why it is empty. So once the database that we have created is ready, we can create tables inside it to store specific details. So right now we are done with creating a database. And let's say for this school database, we want to create different tables such as one table for students, which stores the student details, one table for teacher, which stores the teacher details. By using the create keyword, we can create a table inside the database. So basically, we are making use of the create keyword for building the structure to store and organize the information effectively. All right, so let's take a look at how we can create a table inside a database. So let's go to MySQL Workbench. So we are done with creating a database. All right, so for selecting that database so that the entries are made inside that database, we will use the keyword used, and then we will specify the database that we want to work with. So we will do use school. So use school will choose the database school that we have created, and whatever statements that we are trying to write after this, after line 1, use school, the changes would be implemented inside the database school. Okay, so before we can go on with creating a table inside the database, let's take a look at the syntax for how we create a table. We make use of the create keyword followed by what we want to create. So we want to create a table. We'll specify the keyword table, and then we will specify the name that we want to give to that particular table. After that, we will specify the different columns that we want to have inside the table. So we will do the name of the column, its data type, and the constraint if we want to have any. Okay, now that we are done with understanding the syntax for how we create a table, let's take a look at the different types of data type that we can use. So for understanding that, let's go to the documentation of MySQL. You can search for MySQL documentation on Google, and this will refer you to MySQL documentation. Over here, let's go to MySQL Server Reference Manual. From here, you can go to data types. So over here, we can see that we can have different data types for the columns that we want to create. Okay. So from here, we can see that we can have the data type as a numeric data type, a date and time data type, a string data type, or many more. All right. So let's go to MySQL Workbench and let's try to create one table inside this database. So we will do create. So we will make use of a create keyword. and then we will specify what we want to create. So we want to create a table. And after that, we want to specify the name of the table. Let's say we want to name it as student. And after that, we want to specify the column values. So we want to have the column value as student ID. So this is the name of the column. And after that, we need to specify the data type. So we want the values inside this particular column of student ID as integer, as numeric data type. So we'll specify the data type as integer. So we specify the numeric values by specifying the as integer. If there is any constraint that we want to set for this particular ID, we can do it after setting up the data types. And after this, we want to have a column called name. And I want the values inside this particular column as string. All right, so for setting up the data type for the column num, we want to make use of the string data type. So for setting up a string, we can make use of either character or variable character. So these are like short forms of character and variable character. For storing string data types in our table, we can make use of the data type character or varchar. So whenever we are making use of character, the length that we are defining for that particular column, it is always similar for all the entries inside the column. Whereas when we are putting the value for varchar, we are setting the upper limit. We are setting the maximum value that that particular column can have. So we want to make use of varchar. So we'll go to MySQL Workbench, and then we will specify the data type as varchar. And after that, let's set the maximum values that the name column can contain to be 25. All right. And also we want to have a column called email, which should also be a variable character. It should have, let's say, a length of 30. Now that we are done with setting up the table, we can run this query. Let's try to click on run. All right. So as soon as we've clicked on run, we can see that this particular query has been implemented. So for checking whether this query is working correctly or not, let's try to refresh the schema. And as soon as we have refreshed, we can see that there is a table called students that is created inside the database school. And right now, since we have not entered any value inside this table, it is empty. All right, so this is how we can make use of the create keyword in SQL. Now it's your turn to practice. So try creating your own database. Try to create your own tables inside this database. Experiment it with different types of data types that you can use for column data values. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you had a good time. Happy coding.